let's kind of, oh, thank you. We didn't record this last one. Oh my gosh. We didn't record the last one, and that was my bad because I was the host. But see, good thing I have awesome wing people. It's the way to go.
Hey, Joey, we'll add people as they come in too, so don't worry about that.
Sweet.
All right.
Well, I want to, okay, so we have a couple of topics that are on the board, and, the way we always roll with these is we'll roll with the topic, and we always have a backup topic. And the two topics are, mastering mindset and overcoming limiting beliefs, which I think is a big deal for all of us, I'm sure. And if it's not a big deal for you, you're probably just lying. I'll just throw that out there. And then it's also building authentic relationships. Hi, Matt. Good to see you on here. Yeah, good to see you on here. So I think the second one is building authentic relationships, which ironically I do think ties a lot into limiting beliefs and mastering mindset. So I think it could be a good conversation to have. And I want to fire it up with you all by kind of just doing a gut check. And I want to know the first thing that comes to mind, and maybe no filtering here if we can, because I think this can be a little bit of maybe a vulnerable conversation. But what is the first thing that comes to mind with you guys when we talk about limiting beliefs, or when we just say the words limiting beliefs? Charlie, I saw you're on mute, so I'm just going to call you. Anybody that unmutes, it's like automatic where I'm going to call them out, but we don't have to, but I will call you out.
I just, I don't believe, I'm a firm believer that you can do anything you want. So I call bullshit on limited beliefs. Like, I call my kid out, he calls me out, my wife calls me out. Like, it doesn't matter. It's just a mindset thing. But truly, I think it's just a bunch of horse shit. There's some transparency. But yeah, we all deal with it. My Mondays are like that. I limit everything on a Monday. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'm back in it. But my Mondays are when that kind of stuff creeps in, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't think it's not real. If that makes sense, like it's all up here.
Totally. I totally see what you're saying. I mean, so I think correct me if I'm wrong. What you're saying is obviously limiting beliefs for you are made up.
Correct. 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. What else? What do other people think? What's the first thing that people think of when we say limiting beliefs?
That's what I was going to say, Joey. What comes to my mind is what holds me back. So when you ask what that means to me, so kind of like what Tom said, just playing games that don't serve me.
Yeah, totally. Well, thank you for sharing that. Who else?
Joey, it's Lisa. What that means to me is if you think you can't do it, then you can't.
Yeah. Yep. Have you had a time, Lisa, that you've said that recently?
No, I don't think I have. In the past, I have. Always looking back at, where you've come from and thinking about sometimes you're your own worst enemy. And Bob and I have talked about this, just kind of getting out of your own way and believing in the fact that you can do this and not having any limitations or any extra stuff in your head or in your ear that is making you believe otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's huge. And I do love that quote that, who knows where that quote came from? Because I always relate this quote to Diana Kokoschka. We always talk about Diana Kokoschka, but I think she stole it. But if you think you can, or if you think you can, or you think you can't, you're right. Is that Henry Ford? I feel like that's Henry Ford. But no, you're right. No, thank you, Lisa, for that. Who else? Limiting beliefs. What's the first thing that comes to mind?
You know, Joey, what I'll say is, and this will even go back to some of our KW training days, but a lot of limiting beliefs come from our programming. And what I think people tend to forget is that our programming becomes established as young as like 8 or 7 or 8 or 9 years old. And so with that, it's, I think, understanding your programming. And when Monica said what holds you back, like, and they talked about it on Spring's call, you might have to go all the way back to your childhood, which actually sounds like crazy because maybe many of us, I don't, but identify things that might have happened or whatever that actually hold you back and do limit your belief system. So I think it's a lot of looking at your identity and how you view yourself.
Mm.
Can hold you back from believing you can achieve something.
Gosh, I love that. I think you're spot on there, Ange. And I think sometimes until you question some of the things you say, right? Because I think sometimes if you say these things, well, before the call, actually, Ange and I were just chatting about stuff and market and whatever. And she had said that she had someone that had, or she's talked to people that say, I'm so slow, or it's so slow, right? And so sometimes when you have to almost question the things you say and go, why am I saying that? Like, where did that come from? Why do I have this limiting belief? And sometimes when you peel the onion back, it comes from way back, way back, right? Like 5-year-old Joey was told something, and now 44-year-old Joey still thinks this thing that someone told me when I was 5. Like, really? I think, yeah, so I think you're spot on there. Stacy, thank you for joining. And by the way, I wanted to remind everybody, if you do have something I will probably maybe call some people out if they unmute or something, but please use the raise your hand, and just if you want the little raise your hand feature, which is in the React button. So if you do have something to say. Anyways, what else? What else is a limiting belief? I guess, what do people think? Bob, you've been in this biz obviously for 200 years. No, I'm just kidding. A very long time. I feel like you've probably had the roller coaster of limiting beliefs along your career.
Yeah, I still do every day, right? So you always are going to have those challenges. They're kind of patterns, right? So we all have patterns. When certain things happen, we go into a pattern. Like we might start a project and we'll squirrel off and go do something different, something that's pulling us away from the things that we need to be doing consistently that are actually money-making activities. And I think the task of money-making activities is typically those are uncomfortable conversations. Maybe you're prospecting, maybe you're talking to a seller about a price reduction to bring it into real estate now. And a lot of us don't feel confident because we're not trained enough to do that, right? So therefore, we sometimes just ignore it and we don't do it. We don't do the prospecting, or we don't get the price reduction as soon as we should have got it. And I think the limiting belief there is that I'm not good enough to be able to make a phone call and get an appointment and get a sale, and then you go out and you start scrolling through Facebook and you start seeing all these other realtors that are killing it, right? Well, I sold this house, and you're kind of like, what a loser I am. I can't even pick up the phone right now and like make an appointment, So you're constantly having those challenges, but so actually on the way in, I was listening to Ed Milet. I don't know if any of you guys listen to Ed at all. So he was talking about patterns and kind of how these patterns come in, and how if you recognize a pattern as an individual that's coming up consistently holding you back, as soon as you become aware of that pattern will stop and you can shift. So if you're time blocking and all of a sudden your time block for prospecting comes in, then all of a sudden you're like, oh man, my floor looks dirty. I think I'm going to go clean my floor right now, or I'm going to go do something. That if you recognize that pattern and say, Bob, you got to stop. This is your prospecting time. You got to be doing something right, and then shift and move into that. And I quite frankly think a lot of us limit our beliefs because we never think we could get there or get to where we ultimately want to be kind of in that really blissful mindset, right? So we kind of hold ourselves small a lot of times. Whereas we were talking about getting in the right rooms before the call too, right? So you start getting in the right rooms and you're talking to these people that are really successful. They're dealing with the same things all of us on the call are dealing with every single day. The difference is they're breaking through it. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, man, that's awesome. I want to go back to something you said that isn't that unfortunate when you had talked about the I actually just recently read a book called Filter World, and it's how algorithms have flattened our culture. It's very interesting, but you brought up social media. And you know, I found myself about a month ago looking at social media, and you said a word that I actually said to myself, and I thought, what am I saying? And you said it. I was like on social media one day, and for whatever reason, no matter who I looked at, they were doing better than me. You know, I mean, meaning no matter who I looked at, they either were on vacation, sold a house, were at, you know, they lost 400 pounds, like everything. No, seriously, like everybody I looked at was like, it was like, and I literally said to myself, like, boy, do I feel like a loser right now. And I'm thinking to myself, like, my real self knows I'm not a loser, right? Like, meaning I know I'm not a loser. I know I do, like, I do great things. I have a family. My wife loves me. I love my kids, all this stuff, right? But I'm sitting here looking at social media and I thought, I'm a loser. And then it's like, how is that even possible that that's there? But I love how you brought up the awareness breaks the pattern. From what you said with Ed Milet, is you can't ever break the pattern without even being aware that you're saying it. So even me saying I'm a loser, I was like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
Right.
And I think you know, one thing is too, is we all have the self that we portray ourselves in social media, and we all have our authentic self of who we actually know that we are. So when you're looking at somebody on social media, that's their portrayed self, for lack of a better term. And every person goes through the ups and downs that we're doing. You know, obviously some worse than others, depending upon what's happening in their life. But at the end of the day, everybody's going through this stuff, like I said, but they're shifting because they know what they're doing and they're creating better habits. So if you guys haven't read like the book Atomic Habits, it's key. Yeah. I mean, it's an awesome book. It talks exactly about everybody who's uber successful in the real estate business. They all have really, really good habits, and they can, you know, they can shift themselves away from the mindset. I mean, I heard an agent talk, and I was listening to a podcast last week, and he says he hasn't turned the TV on in 2 months. You know, so he hasn't turned the TV on in 2 months, and he's hyper focused on taking his business to where he wants to take it. And this dude's selling like 700 homes a year already.
Wow.
So if you get hyper focused and really focus in on what you want to achieve, you can do it. You know?
Yeah,
There's
man.
be a lot of things you're gonna have to move out of the way to get there. You know?
Well, and I also want to chime in on something else you said, Bob. Thank you, man. Those are some value bombs. You said it, that you've been in this. So how long have you been doing this?
I've been doing this for going on year 26. And I think Jennifer's almost hitting year 30 now.
Okay, so get this. What you said in the very beginning, though, I want to highlight. So you've been doing it for 26 years and Jennifer 30 plus. You said you still have them. That's what I love about what you meaning it's not like you are 30 years in or 25 years in and all of a sudden poof, you're like, yeah, I know everything, or you know, not I know everything, but you still have them and you're still overcoming them, which I think is fascinating. So I just wanted to highlight that. And I think there's some gold there in the sense of it's a very human thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you've achieved a lot of success, right? I mean, meaning, you know, you've obviously done very well in the business. And so but you still are having the ebbs and the flows of this.
Mhm.
Right. So I think it's great. Cheryl, thanks for joining. Good seeing you on here, by the way. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
So Cheryl, we're talking about limiting beliefs. I'm just curious, because you've been around the block too, been in the business for a while. What do you think about when we say limiting beliefs? Like what's your thoughts on just those words?
I think that's very true. I think if you believe something, you can do it. And if you believe something negative, you're going to go down that negative path. So keeping your mindset positive and not focusing on it doesn't mean that you completely ignore things that are bad in your life. You just, when you're working, you work and you focus on working and work every day. I think that your mind controls what you do.
Oh, 100%. Well, let me ask you guys this. Thank you, Cheryl. I love that. I mean, think about, okay, so when you guys have to step up, when you knew you had to step up in life, or in business, but something held you back. So you knew you had to do something. Maybe you were down on deals, maybe you were whatever, who knows? It doesn't even matter what it is. What is the internal dialogue happening in your head at that time? Meaning when you know you have to step up, but you're not. So like, Ange, you brought up the example of like, it's very simple in any kind of business, not even real estate, because, Charlie, you're entitled. It doesn't matter. It's all the same. Prospecting. Okay, so you know you have to prospect, but you don't. What I want to know from you guys, what's the internal dialogue? Why don't, like, if there's something, and we don't have to use prospecting, it can be anything. What is the internal dialogue? Jennifer, I don't know if you're unmuted for any reason, but I see it, and so I'm just gonna ask you first.
I think that the internal dialogue is like, yeah, I can't do it. Or I constantly fight with myself if I think I can do it. So like, I don't know if anybody else, you get these texts on your phone about a new referral. And if you have like 1 second to get it. And I look at it and I'm like, I won't get it. And so I don't. And
Wow.
it's like, I constantly fight with myself and I don't know how to stop it. My very first bold class was taught by Keller Williams Speak Now, by Rob Daniels. And he said something to me that honestly changed my life. And I know that sounds super dumb, but it's and cliche, but it's true. So we were talking about this thing and I made a comment about, why I didn't do this. And he looked at me and he said, who told you that you weren't good enough? Who programmed you that you were not good enough? And it was like a brick hit me in the head. And that was the change that I needed to get over myself. But 15 years in, and I still struggle with it every single day.
Yeah.
So it's nice to know that you think you suck every now and then.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the thing. No, I mean, well, and it's really funny too, because I think that there's a really, one of my favorite rereads. I reread a book, this book maybe once or twice a year, called The Untethered Soul. And in The Untethered Soul, he talks about the fact that your inner dialogue is kind of like having a crazy roommate. It's like if you listen to your inner dialogue and they were sitting there, meaning they were sitting next to you, you probably would be like, this guy, who is this guy? Crazy, right? Like they just constant chatter, So no, I completely agree with you, Jennifer, and that's a really interesting thing from Rob. I love that. I think I did a bold with Rob years ago, if I remember correctly. Is he he's a bald guy, right?
Yeah.
Bald guy,
Yeah.
maybe he's got the stripe going back here. I don't know. No, that's great. Jennifer, I don't know if you unmuted or not for a reason, but I saw you pop up. Did you have some stuff on this?
I was just I just have it unmuted, but I always think, I tell my kids this, I say, don't compare your insides to other people's outsides. Because I think we can get caught up in that, and then that's a rabbit hole. But I also think it's who you surround yourself with. If you've got people that make you feel good about yourself and they empower you, I feel like you can, sky's the limit. But you definitely can tell when you hang around negative people and it brings you down. So like the old cliche, stinking thinking. Because I'm very aware when people are negative around me, or if they kind of beat me down a little bit. You know, like I don't know, maybe it's that I'm older now and more wiser, but I'm very self-aware of who I hang out with.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. And Bob and Andrew were talking about that. Bob, you brought it up about getting in certain rooms. And yeah, if you get into a room with a bunch of people that have great inner dialogues or they're very positive, it's impossible for you to not like have, be somewhat positive, right? Like, because like if everybody's being super positive and the energy's good, it's almost impossible for you to be like, yeah, it's not that great. It's like everybody would look at you like you're crazy, And
Yeah.
so I think you're spot on with that room and the environment you build yourself around. Bob.
Yeah, I would say, for those of you guys who have been to a real estate convention, right? You go to the real estate convention, you're around a bunch of people that are super excited to be there. You're getting, rah, and you're like, man, this is awesome. I'm going to take 2 or 3 or 4 really good things back, and then I'm going to go ahead and implement, right? Because I saw this person on stage talk about it. I saw this person on stage talk about it. And they obviously did it because they were on stage to talk about it. But then you go back home and your notes just kind of get dust on them and you never move forward with implementing it, right? So with that being said, but if you're around people who are constantly, to your point and to Jennifer's point, that are positive and you're learning from them, you're a product of the 5 people you hang out with most.
Yeah.
If you do that, you're the product of the 5 people you hang out with most. So if the 5 people that you're hanging out with right now are losers, you're going to be a loser. If you got really cool, high end, not high end necessarily income wise, but just morals, beliefs, here, who make you feel good, those are going to be the people that you want to have to be your lifelong people that you're hanging out with. So
100%, 100%. Yeah, you're
and
spot on.
that's why a lot of us seek out coaching too. I know we get coached, and it's great having that session, and then we also get the opportunity to be around like-minded people that are, a lot of them are doing more transactions than we are. Some aren't, but at least you're collaborating and sharing, and you're like, oh my God, I can go ahead and do this and implement this and make this happen. And it's just
sometimes, it's interesting. Sometimes I've hung around, it's hilarious when you talk about this, because I've hung around new agents before. Love it. Why? Because they're excited. They haven't even been beat down. So they're talking about all these ideas, and I'm just like, oh, hell yeah. Oh, I mean, I've had new agents bring up a new idea that I've never even thought of. And it's because they don't know any better. It's the beginner's mindset. And it's fascinating. So it's like, it doesn't matter whether you're doing 100 deals or 1. If you got a good mindset and you have a positive mindset, you want to hang around those people. And I think that's huge. Now I want to do an experiment here. And this is, I don't know, maybe this is going to be crazy. I don't even think it's that crazy. It's not that crazy, but it just means we're going to go around the room and say something. All of us are going to say something. So Katie, I see you there. Everybody, Stacy. By the way, I got to say, Stacy, I don't know how, Stacy, I got on your HomeBot report for my own house. And I think it's, number one, I love it because, first of all, I'm not on HomeBot on my own house, but I get Stacy's and I open it all the time. I don't know if it shows that I open it. But anyways, I saw you on here and I was like, I recognize that name because I get her email every week. So it's like, yes. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go around the room and we're going to say something, and I'm going to give you a prompt on this for this limiting belief conversation. And imagine, so here's the prompt. Imagine for a second, and if you got to take a second to think about this, totally fine. But imagine for a second that you have no fears, no doubts, no imposter syndrome. What is one big move you'd make right now? And that's the prompt. So if you have no fears, there's nothing. It all disappears. All your limiting beliefs are just completely gone. What is one big move you would do right now? And so I'm going to just call people out accordingly, or we'll just go around and we'll make sure. And if you don't know and you want to skip you can just say skip. That's fine. But if everybody says skip, then that's gonna be a problem. But I don't think that's gonna be the issue. So we're gonna start with, just because it's the closest person, we're gonna start with Ange. Ange, you're the closest, you're like on my whatever. What's one big thing and it could be personal or professional, by the way. It could be personal or professional. So I'm curious.
So I was just thinking professional immediately, and just my background and skill set has been recruiting, but I've been doing crap for recruiting. So it would be to just go for it and start talking to actually small brokerage owners about EXP.
Oh, I love that. Okay, that's great. That's great.
Mhm.
Awesome. Okay, I'm gonna go around, and the next person next to me is Eric. Eric, what's up?
That's a pretty bold question of what would you do, whether it's personally or business wise. But I think if there was no fears, no doubts, that I would sell everything and try a different market and just go and grow my team, but in different markets. I think sometimes we get very comfortable with where we're at and what we're doing and whatnot, and sometimes that shakeup and that change reignites sometimes that flame a little bit. And I got young kids, so to just pack up and leave something would be kind of just, in my mind, crazy. So no fears, no doubts. I mean, do I think I could do it again? Absolutely. To change what I have going and what we've built here, it's very comfortable and I feel very good about it. So I think it would be just more of an experiment.
Love that. Love that. Well, hey, here's the thing. These can be experiments. So I love it. All right, Monica, what's up? How are we feeling about this?
Good. I guess when I was sitting here thinking for me right now, my leap would be to hire a trainer at the gym. And I don't do it because I don't want to look stupid in front of other people. And I know for me mentally, I do better when I'm in a good headspace. And I feel right now I'm just struggling a little bit with my diet and working out. And so I know if I make that shift in my personal life, that would, transcend into my business.
Love that.
Love that. So
Yeah.
I think I'm struggling a little bit with just confidence. So, and I'm also trying to stay off some social media right now because it's not good for my mental health. Because to your point earlier with looking at people on vacation or selling, and when you're not, or when I'm not, excuse me, that's just not good for my mental health. So I could take a break from that, and I will still survive.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. I was just thinking that when I recently kind of got off social media, I was like, how is everybody so good looking? It seems so impossible. Why? How is that possible? So no, but thank you for sharing. Matt, how are you? You have no fear, no anything. What do you do, Matt?
Is that me, the only Matt here?
You're the only Matt.
You're the only Matt.
All right. Well, number one, you couldn't find any deeper subject to talk about. I know when you put somebody on the spot, I'm going to try to answer it like a politician or something. Because if I want to be honest, things get too personal. So I guess when I think about this thing, I want to be practical. There's a lot of books and courses and videos out there talking about the same subject. For me, I think the first step, if anybody here wonder, how do I go about doing anything about my limiting belief, is to get honest with yourself, to get vulnerable with yourself, and ask questions. The voice in your head is a real thing. It has been there, it will be there. You cannot shut it off. It's a survival thing that you have in your head. That's what warns you about, hey, don't touch that thing, it's hot. But the question is, how do we go about? The number one thing, again, about being honest with yourself is to acknowledge that voice. You can't eliminate it. You can't just reject it. And that's what, for me, has been a big challenge. You have to acknowledge it first and then ask question. Like, you're going to pick up that phone to call that prospect or whatever. That butterfly you get in your stomach, that's what he's talking to you. Be honest, recognize it, acknowledge it, and then ask question. Why is it? Why is it the next person sitting in the office pick up that phone so easily and I can't? And get deep with yourself. I mean, we all talk about, oh, limiting belief, forget it, just pick up the phone or whatever it is that, it's not just about, it's everywhere in our personal life and everywhere else, whether it's a relationship, your kids, So I know I didn't answer the specific question, but I hope that helps somebody here to say, hey, how do I start? Where do I start dealing with this?
Matt, first of all, I love that, man. And thank you for that. And I know you didn't answer the question, but that's still okay. You did the political answer, which was a very well done political answer, but it was still awesome. So thank you for that. Really, really appreciate that ad. Awesome. Very good. Connie, if you didn't have any fears, no fears, what would you do? What would your next big move be?
I would say probably whether socially, professionally, put myself out there more. I think it's one of those that the paralysis thing, whether no matter what it is, you're in a group of something, whether it's talking real estate or just anything somebody brings up, and it's just you tell yourself, well, why would they go with me, or why would they take my advice, or just things like that where you got to start thinking, why wouldn't they? So again, I think it's neat to see that everybody's more in the same boat than you like to think. And again, social media is a huge thing because you're like, yeah, look at this, look at this, look at this, and then you're just like Loserville going on. And like I say, more people are in the same boat than you realize. It's just easier to internalize that you're the one that struggles much more. But once you're in a group, you get talking, it's way easier than, like, so you just kind of paralyze yourself thinking if you open your mouth, people are just gonna like get sick or something. But yeah.
Yeah. Connie, you said something that I think is very important, and I'm putting it in the thing. We're more similar than different. We are all more similar than different. So thank you for sharing that. Bob, what do you think? No, next big move, zero fears.
I probably buy a bar in northern Wisconsin on an RV park and just hang out there, then go to go south for 2 months during the off season.
Okay. You just took it to that level, and I want to just say kudos to you. You just said, screw it, I'm buying a bar in northern Wisconsin.
Yeah, and buy an RV park and just gonna go hang out. Yep.
Oh man. Okay. I love that. That is great. Great. Thank you. Hold my beer, Jennifer says. I love
Yeah.
Okay, Jennifer, what's yours? Let's go on. What do you think? What's your next big move?
So two things. I would sell everything and move to Mazatlan, Mexico, and start real estate there. And then I would put on my big girl pants and walk into the big companies in my area. Hormel, everybody likes spam. I'd walk into that HR and I would say, I want all of your incoming people. I'm your gal. And then personally, I've lost 65 pounds. So I got to keep going with that. And my goal is I won't run, but I will walk 5K. So
Love that. Love that. Holy smokes.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Okay. Very good. I'm just gonna say mine because I thought about it. Mine is actually pretty simplistic. I just think I would call the number one agent in my area and just be like, hey, can we just like have coffee? I'd love to learn like the number one. I already know who it is. It's Ramsey County. It's Krista Walter, and I know her personally, but I've never sat down with coffee for her. Like just sit down with her and just be like, hey, like, how the heck are you the mayor of North Oaks and also the number one agent in Ramsey County? Can you just like give me like one tidbit? Like, so I think that's what I would do if I had no fears. I'd just call her and just say like, hey, let's do this. Cheryl, what about you?
I feel like I just did this. So I had lived in the same house for 35 years, raised our kids there, super involved in the neighborhood and community. And we bought a house in Stillwater Township and moved last summer. So we're still kind of recovering from that. But along with that, my husband was laid off. And so in 35 years, I've never been the sole breadwinner in the house. And it's been a year of change. And you just take every day and make the best of it. And none of it has been bad. It's all great. Everything is going fine. It's just all different. And finding a new life is it's been challenging, but a good challenge. And it's been good to evaluate it's made us evaluate every single thing in our life. And from physical things, all of the little minutia things that you own, to how you live and how you want to live in the future. And we're still going through it, and it's been a really, really good journey, and we have a lot of great discussions, and think a lot of good has come out of it. And it's all related to health and wellness and strength and finances and aging and how we want to live and how we want to, our kids are raised, how we want to grandparent, and what we want to do. As we probably have less than 30 years left on this earth. Hopefully a little more than 30 years, but how do we want to live those years? I read an interesting book this year also called Outlive. And it gets a little long and tedious sometimes, but if you can push through the tedium, I actually listened to it, but it was pretty inspiring to think about how we're going to live into our older years. And I intend to work for a long time still. And my husband had intended to work for a long time, but now we're evaluating, should he? And he maybe is going to do something new. So yeah, we're going through it. It's great. I recommend making big changes and evaluating everything.
Love that, Cheryl. Thank you for sharing that. And I second that on Peter Attia's book. I put the link in the chat, Outlive. Fantastic book. Fantastic book. So thanks for sharing that. And thanks for sharing that journey. That's great. Awesome. Charlie, what's up, man? How limiting beliefs? If you didn't have any, what would you do next?
Damn, that's a tough question.
Well, you're like 13th on the list, so you should already have it prepared. I'm just kidding.
Shit. I guess just probably a lot like you, just pick up the damn phone and call the people that you I'll say look up to, that's doing business, and figure out their secrets. I mean, I don't know what's holding me back from doing. I mean, I started doing that here last week. Had some success with it, but it's still that creeps in the mind of like, are you good enough to be talking to these people? And at the end of the day, once you sit down with them, what I've come to find out is they put on their underwear just the same way I do, put on their shoes the same exact way. But yeah, it creeps in a lot of just going, what makes you feel you should be in this room with these people? So
yeah,
I love what Cheryl said, because I've kind of did that the last probably 5 years, and what Bob said is I've kind of blown up my circle of friends because it wasn't doing me any good. But now it's reevaluating that and coming back. And I just love that Bob and Cheryl kind of touch on that, is just making sure you circle yourself with the right people, and I think Jen said it too, just with positive people in your life, because energy vampires can just suck the life out of you. So just create my circle of 5 just a little bit stronger.
Yeah. Nope. I love that, man. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. So yeah, that's great. It's really good. I love this. Gosh, I love this. I love calling people out on this. And the last couple people should have their answers ready because they're almost last. But maybe not. Jennifer. Jennifer, what about you? What would you do? No fears.
I was thinking about this. I would, everyone looks and says, "Oh my gosh, you have low self-esteem. Like, why?" And, they look at me like this powerful person. And inside, I'm not as powerful as people see me. And I would love to just step into my power more and be more bold and take more control of past client situations and asking for business, and just being the person that people think I am, I guess. Because
Wow.
I struggle with that, and people look at me like, "You're crazy." I'm like, "No, I'm not." Like, I do suffer from a little bit of low self-esteem, and I just want to shake that.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And I just want to say we're more similar than different,
Right.
And so thank you for sharing that. That's I know that's vulnerable. So I really appreciate that. All right, Katie. Katie, what would you do?
Travel the country in an RV with my boyfriend and my dog full time. That's the personal one. Professionally, Joey, you know this about me. Finished writing my book, Real Estate Agent from an Admin's View. I need to finish that. And I have a lot of limiting beliefs for myself, but I got to push past that. So.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. I know about this RV thing. Come on now. I love this. I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
I just need to do it.
Yeah. All right. One more, I think Lisa, I don't think, and I don't know if she's on or if she's on her, I don't think she said anything. Oh,
I'm
there
here.
she is. There you
I'm
are.
here. So, first of all, thank you everybody for being a little bit vulnerable, because I'm going to do the same right now. I am back in the business of real estate after 15 years. I sold my book of business, not thinking that I would ever get an opportunity to be back in real estate. I need to quit telling myself that it's hard to restart this business. I think that, excuse me, a lot of the self-talk and the things that we have been sharing today are exactly what I needed to hear. Surrounding yourself with positive people, sitting down with those that are really killing it, and asking them maybe even to help mentor you. I have a difficult time asking for help. So when I get, those are the things that I need to work on, is telling myself that this is hard, because it doesn't have to be. I just need to, again, I think I shared earlier, kind of get out of my own way and get out of my own head, and be more comfortable asking people for help, and asking for that guidance and that mentorship.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That was awesome. And I think, number one, asking for help is very difficult for a lot of people. And that's great. And Jennifer, I love that. Lisa, you guys are, there you go, accountability partner. I think that's fantastic. And, asking others, first of all, everyone here, we're obviously all willing to share, but you know, when you go to master or networking events or top agents and it's a simple question of just saying, hey, what are you doing to get business? Right? Like, what are you doing? And most people will say, here's what I'm doing. And not everything is going to stick, but you know, you'll get a couple nuggets out of that. So thank you, Lisa, for sharing that. And remember, we're more similar than different. So wow, this is crazy. I just love the fact that everybody was willing to share on this. You know, and we only have about 10 minutes left, so there's no way we're going to get to building authentic relationships, but we are going to probably talk about that next week. I do think that that's a really important one for any business. I want to end this because we talked about a lot of stuff with limiting beliefs, and it sounds like we're all in agreement that no one has achieved this. Like, oh, you know, I think it's funny that no one on here has been like, you know what? I don't have any limiting beliefs, Joey. You know, and it's like, it's hilarious. It's not even close to what anybody has said. But what I'm curious is what advice would we give people that have limiting beliefs? I think we've said some of them, but I kind of want to end it on a positive note. I mean, it's all been very positive, so thank you. But what advice do we give others? And it's mostly advice we give ourselves. But when you hear someone else saying some limiting belief, and you have the wherewithal to realize that it's a limiting belief, what advice do you give them?
I'll give you some of the things that I talk to people about is understanding their why real clearly, and understanding their why. And if they're limiting their beliefs as far as moving themselves forward, whether it be monetarily, whether it be spiritually, emotionally, whatever it might be, those limited beliefs are affecting their why, and whether that why might be family or what have you. So what are the circumstances? What would happen if you did not limit those beliefs? How would things look for you in your life? Would it be a lot different? And more than likely, it absolutely would. So, realizing that in a way, by limiting beliefs, you're being a little bit of being selfish to the people around you, especially the people who really rely upon you as their father, their brother, their son, whatever it might be. So there's just more people involved in you limiting your beliefs than you realize.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Bob. I think that's amazing advice, for real.
Can I add
Who else? Oh yeah, go ahead, Matt. Yeah, for sure.
I'm gonna just simply say, stop looking for approval from other people. Whether you accept it or not, you're doing your best every day, and that's good enough. If you're looking for other people to give you value, identity, you will be doing that for the rest of your life. It's not an easy thing to do or just to say it, but stop looking for approval from outside.
Yeah. Love that, Matt. Thank you for sharing that, man. That is fantastic. What other advice? What other advice do you guys have?
Joey, I would say, when I've done even coaching with people, our thinking is so powerful, right? And I think Bob alluded to earlier, we go through these patterns and these cycles in our life. So really recognizing the pattern of your thinking, and when you're in a negative thought pattern, you need to have a pattern interrupter. And so when I say a pattern interrupter, like what is the punchback to that negative? So it could be an affirmation for yourself. It could be a Bible scripture or your whatever your faith is, something that builds you up again. And the other thing I recommend, and it could be even for very short term because our subconscious and our conscious is so powerful, is to write like a 30-day letter to yourself just to get a different pattern. So just write out your futures to your future self, like I'll be very visual with it, all the positive things that are happening for you, the way that you see yourself, that you're staying committed to your workouts or whatever it might be. And then come back to that, 30 days later and see if you're sort of reprogramming yourself and your thinking.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that. I love that. The pattern interrupters is a huge piece because you know you got to do some mental gymnastics, but it can really help. I love that, Ange. Thank you for that. Katie, I see your hand there.
The other thing that I would say for advice is we talked about the closest five. Really listen to not criticism, but if they bring things to you like lessons. Because that's some of the biggest things that have changed my life is like listening to those top five and learning from not only their mistakes, but maybe how they see you. Because my best friend Molly does that. She'll say, oh, I'm going to talk to my boss today how I think you would, because you'll go in there and say, this is how it's got to be. And I'm like, well, I don't see myself that way. But she sees something that I don't see in myself.
Oh, wow.
I think that's a huge thing that's changed my life, at least in the last like 3 or 4 years. Is listen to the people closest to you because they know you best and they probably see you for more than what you see yourself.
Oh my gosh, that hits home. I think others, I've learned that a lot too, that others, thank you for sharing, Katie, because I think others think much more highly of you than you for sure. We are absolutely our own worst enemies. And you know, and up here can get a little wonky. And so it's good to know we're all in good company. It's okay to not be okay, and we can back each other up. And that's what this mastermind group is about, is learning from each other. And so thank you everybody. This has been wild. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate everybody's insight. Cheryl, thank you for that story. That's incredible. And everybody, don't check out Outlive. That book is really good. I loved it too. So check that out. That the link is in the chat. And then real quick, so a couple quick things. So we'll probably for next week get to building authentic relationships. We did have a couple other topics talking about time management and focus and prioritizing what moves the needle. That's a topic that's I'm sure we all could benefit from that. And then the art of resilience, meaning thriving in a changing market, learning to bounce, not break, I think is really important. So those are topics that are on the docket. I think we'll talk about building authentic relationships. I think that's probably more important now than it's ever been, just with the way that online and social media can give really shallow relationships. And so I think the next week or two will be some really good topics for you all. I also just want to give a quick thank you, number one, to some of the people that have shown up. You know, Charlie, thank you for showing up. And I think it's your first one that you've popped on. So really appreciate it. And for everybody, please invite a guest. If you think that there'd be a friend that could, offer some value, we love it. And Eric, thank you for hopping on too. If there's anybody that you know, or anyone, please have them hop on. Is there any questions or anything good for the group for the last couple minutes? I just want to kind of open it up. And Ange, if you have anything at all, or Bob or anything.
I think to your point, Joey, I mean, it's, let's invite people to this, it can be a powerful tool amongst all of us. I think, let's not be shy about what we're doing and have people come on, and hopefully every week I pick something up amongst this group, take away. So if, a guy like me is picking up a lot of stuff, been in this business a long time. I mean, there's definitely some value there, especially for a newer agent in the marketplace.
For sure.
I wish we would have had some of this stuff, this collaboration. We were young in the business, so. Yeah,
for sure. And actually we had talked about this before the call too, that I think it's on the docket to possibly do an in-person one. Maybe in April or something. We're going to keep talking about that to kind of, there's a little bit of different energy there. And yeah, who was it last week? Who was it with the logo? They're not on here, right? Who was it?
Brad. It was Brad Ferguson.
Brad. Well, don't let me forget next week. Maybe he didn't have it ready, so that's why he didn't show up. He's like, I'm just not ready. Whatever. But he could have just done the ChatGPT thing quick, and we'd all whatever. But we got to make sure hopefully he shows up again. Maybe he'll never show up again because he's like, I never been going to be done with that. But I think Brad was a good value add. So remind me when we get that. Thanks, Ange, for bringing that up. Well, you guys are all great. Thank you so much for hopping on. Really appreciate you all. And again, same time next week, 10 a.m. Monday. If you know of anybody that could benefit from these conversations, please let us know. So thank you all.
Awesome. Thanks, Joey.
Well, thanks, Joey, for.
Thank you.
Appreciate you guys. There we go.
I was trying to stop recording, but then I was hitting end meeting. Let me see if I can stop recording. Here we go.
Oh, can I?
Stop
Yeah.
recording.
There you go.